Hello, my name is Sean. I live in Vancouver. And the question I have is actually two questions mixed in one. And one is, how do I become comfortable with presence? Because the practice that you mentioned to other people, I do try, but it just feels so uncomfortable. It just doesn't feel good. So is this like a something that I just keep going and eventually it's going to feel good and eventually I'll caught present? Because I feel like I'm using my discipline, like I'm disciplining myself to be present. But I feel like my ego is being involved because I'm like trying to, conquer presence.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
And that's one thing. And the other thing is that ultimately once I get there, do I become calm or... Like, because I notice, I see you're like super calm. You're like relaxed. But I feel like I'm not as calm at all. And no matter how much I meditate. Or if that's even important, I don't even know, but I'm just curious to how do I ultimately get to the presence and ultimately end suffering, because that's what I want.
Yes, yes. It seems that you are still trying to exert a little bit of willpower to will yourself into presence. I briefly mentioned that earlier, that sometimes, especially men can do that, can fall into that error very easily, and that's why it doesn't feel quite comfortable, because although you may be able to stop your mind through willpower, there's a little bit of pressure involved there. And that is, I believe, that's what's making you uncomfortable, just as the pot that's boiling water in the pot, when you hold down the lid, it becomes uncomfortable, the water inside. The pressure builds up. So although it is possible to stop the mind through willpower, one cannot sustain it for very long. And if you practiced for long periods of time stopping the mind through willpower, you would only energize it the moment you stop exerting willpower. The mind would be even more active, just like the boiling water when you hold down the lid. When you stop holding it down, it really comes up. So for you, perhaps rather than trying to be present through wanting to be present, your practice perhaps would be, because there are various ways of approaching presence, or sometimes I call that portals into presence. So the portal for you, or the way of approaching presence for you, would be to use the acceptance of the present moment as it is, as a portal into presence. Not resisting whatever arises in this moment, whatever form it takes, little or big. Let's say you want to get somewhere, but something is stopping you. Traffic jam, you miss the bus, you miss the plane, the person who was supposed to meet you is not turning up, you are being delayed, you're late for an appointment, it's raining, you're getting wet. Hundreds of things can happen to bring up resistance to what is, and they tend to happen every day in various forms. If you can make it your practice to accept whatever arises in the present moment, that's a powerful portal into presence. Rather than choosing presence directly, which some people can do, it's a beautiful thing, use whatever life gives you at any moment, which is always this moment, and accept what is internally. So then you're stuck in the traffic jam, and you realize the futility of resisting the simple fact of the isness of this moment. Resistance does nothing except create unpleasantness. So if you can be with what is as a practice, you want to succeed all the time, of course, but you will succeed some of the time. Perhaps practice with little things first. They would have been upsetting, or you would have complained. It is already, so you might as well say yes to it. Accept what is. That will bring you into presence that's not willpower. But you cannot exert willpower, accept what is through willpower, because accepting is a very feminine, it's the female quality of receptivity and deepening that takes you away from the masculine, I need to be present. So I accept this moment as it is, whatever form it takes. Use this as your practice, and then you begin to welcome the things that go wrong in your life, because it's an opportunity for practicing accepting this moment as it is. You will also find that actually the way in which you deal with situations becomes more effective when your foundation for dealing with a situation is prior acceptance of the isness of this situation, so that you don't separate yourself internally from life, which is now as it is now. And that places you in that puts you in a place of power, the acceptance of this moment as it is. So a byproduct of this practice is mainly a practice for entering presence, but at the same time the way in which you deal with the situation will improve. You will be more effective if you take action. Then, if it's possible, sometimes you can't take action. When you're in a traffic jam, you're in a traffic jam. Well, maybe you can find another street, but that's sometimes action is possible, sometimes it's not possible. The main thing is surrender to what is, and then enter presence that way. You cannot will yourself to surrender, that they just don't go together. So use that approach and report back to us next time.
Thank you.